Hello, 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 and welcome to the technically third episode of Mixed Media Reviews Season 2. My name is Kelsey, and today I'm just going to be talking about some of my favorite movies. I know, it's been quite a while, but will it make you feel better if I told you that I've now passed 2 more of my exams, and so now I only have 2 more left? So at least all this time off, I got 2 exams done, so yay. I certainly feel better. So, yeah, I'm not 100% back yet. The last 2 exams are a lot, but I think I can record maybe a little bit. I'm taking a small break from studying just so I can relax a little bit and not feel so insane. But I'm going to be dipping back into the study pool pretty hard. So I figured maybe I can just record an episode or 2 and maybe do some short episodes and not follow as close with my typical. I think this episode will show you what I mean when I mean that I think I'm gonna do things a little bit differently for a little bit, but still kind of be on the same page. So today I just want to talk about the movies that I like to have on in the background while I do chores or tasks. So it's still a movie episode, which is what this week's would be, but a little bit different than what I normally do, if that makes sense. So yeah, so these are movies I've seen a million times before, and we'll continue just to throw on when I just need some noise in the background, and I probably end up sitting down and just watching them. So yeah, so these are them in not quite any order, but maybe a little bit of an order. First is She's the Man, then Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. Fired Up, the first Twilight movie for sure, 17 Again, literally any of the Hunger Game movies, but the second one is probably my favorite, and Hot Rod. So first up, She's the Man. This is actually probably my number 1 favorite movie to put on in the background. I mean, that's a hard thing to say, but it's a movie I've seen a million times, and it's freaking hilarious. It's Amanda Bynes at her finest, I think. She's the Man is the perfect mid-2000s movie, and I'm going to die on that hill. Amanda Bynes' character, Viola, loves soccer, but when her school cuts girls' soccer, she decides to use her twin brother's absence off playing music in England or something that literally nobody cares about, including his parents. Well, maybe not including his parents, but whatever. So she decides to take her twin brother's absence as a chance for her to compete at his all-boys school and play soccer there. It's got Shakespeare references, Channing Tatum, Vinnie Jones, who's, that bald, angry English actor guy who's always plays like a mean dude, but also played the Juggernaut in X-Men and was King Gareth in Gallivant. And also it has David Cross and hilarious jokes and Eunice and Toby, which I literally don't need to explain any further if you've seen the movie. My friends and I quote this movie often, specifically the "Screw you guys, I hate high school" line that comes up a lot for some reason. But yeah, it's the perfect movie to have on in the background. A large portion is because I've seen it so many times that I don't necessarily need to look at the screen to know what's going on. But it's also just funny, and it's a fun movie. Next up is Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. Kung Pao is another one of my absolute favorites. I remember one time, I think when I was in undergrad, I watched the movie, then I watched the undubbed version, and then I watched the commentary version all in a row while writing like a couple of papers or something. And it was heaven. I watched the movie basically 3 times, and I still will watch it because it doesn't get old. If you don't know, Kung Pao is a Stephen Oedekerk film. The Thumb Guys movie. Thumb Movies guy. The Thumb Movies guy, not the Thumb Guy movies. Anyway, it's that guy. There's a dog barking outside, sorry. And it's a spoof on kind of those older martial arts movies, but he actually uses a 1970s martial arts film that he splices himself into, as well as a couple other actors they're spliced into, and it's freaking hilarious, and I love it. and it's another super quotable film. That's a perfect background movie. My friends and I constantly shout out, "That's a lot of nuts," which doesn't make sense probably to a lot of people, but that's okay. And then we also sing the Taco Bell song. Fired Up is the next one I want to talk about, and Fired Up is another one of those kind of late 2000s self-aware satirical movies that has no business being as good as it is, because it's like, chef's kiss. Basically, two dudes, they go to cheer camp to hit on chicks, but instead discover the true meaning of friendship and hard work. And it's freaking great. Also, John Michael Higgins is in this. He's hilarious. And it's another super quotable movie. Wear a size 10 and an 11 in Crocs. And, and it's got that guy. He's in New Girl. He was Sam, one of the guys that Jessica dates. And he was in that show about a boy, if you ever watched that, David Walton. So yeah, it's a great movie, and I love it. Let's see, what was next? The first Twilight movie. Do I need to say anything else other than it's the OG Twilight movie, classic? It's a great movie to watch when you're doing laundry or washing dishes or sitting down and watching it, even though you have lots of laundry upstairs that you need to be doing, but instead you got engrossed in a film. It's one of those. It's really good. Also, can we just stop for a second to mention the scene where Robert Pattinson gets out of the car with Bella and he has like his sunglasses on and she's like, they're staring. And he's like, well, I've broken the other rules, so might as well. And then he puts his arm around her and they walk off together. Because, that was the moment that he really sold me on being Edward. And yeah, I'm realizing that this is actually New Moon and not the OG Twilight movie. But once you've started one movie, you might as well just put the other ones on anyway. So you're going to get to that scene regardless. And does that mean that it took me until the second movie to really dig that Robert Pattinson was Edward? Maybe. But, to be fair, they're not great movies. And by that, I love them. All right, next up, 17 again, which, speaking of iconic getting out of the car with sunglasses moment, oh my God, I will stop what I'm doing specifically. Like, if I know that scene is about to come up, I will run down the stairs, I will stop, I will dry off my hands if I'm doing the dishes, like, whatever I'm doing, I will go to watch that scene. It's a freaking terrific movie, but honestly, that's the part that I most look forward to, is just that montage of him driving up in the cool car, throwing his leather jacket on, walking up to, the stairs. It's all to the tune of the Spoons, the Underdog. And I'm not exaggerating, but it is the perfect scene in all of cinematic history. And it will never be topped. And I will, again, die on this hill. So there's two hills, about She's the Man, and that scene is cinematic masterpiece that will go down in the history of cinema, and nothing in the history or the future will ever kick it off as the top dog. I don't know what I'm saying. But yeah, it's like, try to find a scene that's more perfect than that, but I'm telling that you will never do that, and you should probably not just waste your time, because it's a good freaking scene, and it's a good movie. Like, when another scene that gets me every single time is that scene in the courtroom where Zac Efron's character is like reading off a piece of paper saying like, I love you, but I realized, I've messed up and I gotta let you go, and it's okay. And then he drops the paper, and then Scarlett like gets up and goes and looks, and she looks at the paper, and it's really just the directions. Whew. That's a good scene, you guys. God, I need to watch that movie again too. Is it weird that even though I've gone through a whole list, it's just speaking about those two scenes that really make me want to watch 17 again? That's fine. Anyway, next up, any of the Hunger Game movies? Really? I think I mentioned before, but it was probably a while ago, but I was kind of in this like Hunger Game zone in the beginning of the year, where I watched all 4 movies like twice in a week or two. I was just really craving it. That Katniss Peeta cuteness is just, sometimes I just need a little dose of it, you know? Which is probably why I like the second movie the most, because they're just so freaking cute in it. And I again, think I've talked about this before, but I just love that scene where Katniss thinks Peeta dies and, like, freaks out. Like, it's just a perfect scene. And sometimes I'll just Google and watch that scene because it really shows, like, her love for him. I'm getting a little weird right now, but that's okay. Hunger Games is by far, a hands down, second to none, first to all. I don't know. It's for sure the best film adaptation of a book that has ever existed. I think everybody who is a fan of the Hunger Games and has watched the books and the movies can agree. I don't think that's really up for debate. Is everything the same in both of them? No, but they totally got everything right in terms of, like, theme. Even though I latch onto it, the movies didn't just focus on the love triangle. And more than that, they got that the love triangle wasn't just about what boy should she pick and she's confused, but what does Katniss truly want in life? Does she want to fight like Gale, and he represents, the revolution of taking back their freedom and, kind of being part of this bloody and violent world that she, had to endure during the Hunger Games? Or does she want to be with Peeta, who represents the safety of peace, of being able to see that there's more to life than just fighting and violence? And I really love that the movies still pick that up, that a lot of things that happened in the books, were kind of a metaphor for the capitalist society, and a metaphor for what she's going through and her PTSD, and they didn't really just leave that out and gloss over it and act like this was just a book about a girl who happened to be in the Hunger Games. Really, it was just a story about her in love. It didn't really focus on that, even though obviously there is a lot of that. It's still kind of her figuring out who she is and where she fits in the world, and what that means about how the people she loves fits in her world. All right, sorry. I could talk about the books and the movies forever, so I love them, and I'm just gonna have to leave it at that and move on to Hot Rod. Hot Rod, yeah, final one. It's classic, cool beans, Andy Samberg movie. It's a Lonely Island jam. Super quotable, of course, like everything else on this list pretty much is. And I think it still remains the only movie I've ever seen twice in a theater. It's for sure the only one I've ever seen in a theater 2 days in a row and cried laughing at the same scene, the one where he's falling in the forest, like both times in a row. It's super quotable, it's super weird, and it's perfect. It's a movie tailor-made for my humor. Again, something that I constantly quote, drinking green tea and I'm pumped, and the whiskey, and babe, it's I'm sorry. I think I'm just in a mood. It's been a while since I've recorded, and I think I'm just being really weird on this one, but whatever. Who cares, Yeah, I love Hot Rod, and it's a classic movie, and it's great to have on in the background, like the rest of the list. Next week, if I am able to do another one, I think I might, again, be changing the format a bit, where I'm kind of doing catch-up episodes, like maybe like the first one will be the books that I've been reading, the shows I've been watching, then the movies I've been watching, and then maybe by then I can kind of switch back to the regular scheduled programming, which was where I left off at the Vampire Academy movie/TV show wrap-up. We'll see how things go. Like I said, these 2 exams coming up are a lot of math and a lot of stuff that I have to remember and do, and they're kind of the ones that are notoriously the hardest. So I'm not sure how much I should allow myself to have for free time, or things that, take a bit of time that are not just relaxing, but like between the studying. So we'll see how it goes, but I promise I won't abandon this. I just may continue to take some bigger breaks. And there you have it. Those are my favorite movies to have on in the background while I am doing other things. Thank you so much for joining me. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Mixed Media Reviews Podcast, and you can also find me on Tumblr under the same name. Please leave me a comment to let me know if you agreed. That doesn't really follow on this one, does it? Leave me a comment if you have movies that you like to have on in the background, and let me know what you think about the ones that I listed. And of course, if you have suggestions for upcoming episodes, you can find me anywhere you find your podcasts, probably. Please join me next week, perhaps, where I'll be talking about some books, I think. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye!